Start here with the biggest story of week 2, Evan, and it comes from Cincinnati. Nightmare situation for the Bengals. Nightmare situation for anyone who owns any Bengals in fantasy. Joe Burrow goes down around 4 Jaguars in that game on Sunday in a ton of pain. Turns out he had a bad turf toe injury in his left toe, needs surgery, and is going to be out roughly 3 months for Joe Burrow. Just an absolute disaster. Jake Browning came into this game, plays the final 48 snaps, does go 21 of 32 for 241, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Evan, what is your thoughts on the Joe Burrow injury, and what can you tell the people about Jake Browning and your outlook for him?
Yeah, the good news is that Jake Browning, as compared to other backup quarterbacks across the league, is probably one of the more competent. We've got a decent sample size. He made 7 significant appearances in the 2023 season, and he held it together. I mean, he averaged over 19 fantasy points per game himself, and he had Jamar Chase. T. Higgins missed a little bit of time in there. Jamar Chase missed 1 game in there, but he mostly had both. He's surrounded by excellent weapons. And he is obviously extremely familiar with the offense. He's got a little bit of athleticism, and he's got that starting experience. So I think he's going to be able to keep T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Chase Brown afloat, but the upside is just zapped from this offense. I mean, we're not going to see, scoring bonanzas on a weekly basis without Joe Burrow. And the Bengals' upcoming schedule for the next month is freaking brutal. At Minnesota, Brian Flores, at Denver, versus Detroit, at Green Bay. So, I mean, you could not really draw it up any tougher than what Jake Browning is going to have to face over the next month.
It's also possible Jake Browning got better since that 7-game stretch in 2023, right? He has had a bunch of time in the Bengals system behind Joe Burrow to get better and improve. During that 7-game stretch that Evan alluded to, Jamar Chase had 1 big game and a bunch of mediocre at best games. T. Higgins stayed afloat a little bit with touchdowns. But yeah, obviously, if we were redrafting today and we're working on the rest of season top 150, we'll cover this more on the Wednesday show, but we are going to have to drop Chase and T significantly. I think a lot of people,
I'll be very interested to see where you guys land on that. I feel like Jamar Chase, maybe like a first, second round turn or mid-second round. What do you? How are you feeling about that right now?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking like early second round, maybe end of the first round for Jamar Chase. T. Higgins, I think a little bit more. I think he needs to be dragged along by his quarterback a little bit harder, as much as I love T. Higgins. Chase Brown is the one that I want to talk to you about, though, because I took a lot of Chase Brown in best ball and redraft this summer. I thought his usage, and he was actually playing fine. I know the output hasn't been there. He was really struggled around the goal line. He's had some really good chances around the goal line, has not executed, also got into like some weird clock killing spots where he lost a bunch of yards in a bunch of games. But I'll be the first to admit, Chase Brown situation has not been great. And now I'm extra worried because of this Jake Brown thing. Joe Burrow is such a good thrower of the football to the running back position, so accurate. And now obviously that's a downgrade with Jake Brown. You also get fewer red zone attempts here. They're not going to be around the goal line.
I was hoping for a lot of touchdowns from Chase Brown.
We need a lot of touchdowns from Chase Brown because he's not like that explosive of a back where he's going to be like Achane or Jonathan Taylor and do it on his own. So, Evan, how much do you think the Jake Browning stuff downgrades Chase Brown?
Yeah, I mean, it just zaps his touchdown upside, I believe. I mean, I think he's still going to be quite involved in the passing game, and he can still be a 20-plus touch per game player. But our expectations were so high for this offensive environment, and that is no longer the case, especially with this brutal upcoming schedule. In defense of Chase Brown's on-field play, if you look at his like expected rushing output, I mean, it's like nothing. I mean, the guys are getting in the backfield all the time. He's like way above his expected in terms of his actual results on the field. So he's not playing poorly, but again, the offensive memory. One thing I thought that was interesting, I was listening to Greg Rosenthal, our old boss, his podcast, NFL Daily, and he made an interesting suggestion that maybe Jake Browning, because he's kind of a soft tosser, he's accurate, but he's kind of a soft tosser. He's not going to be throwing bullets in there to guys. T. Higgins, one of the best clasher 50-50 ball winners in the NFL. maybe Jake Browning's style of play could sort of be complementary to the way that T. Higgins wins. I thought that was an interesting suggestion.
Yeah, the other thing about this is I think their pass rate will go down, right? Under Joe Burrow, they are always among the league leaders in pass rate. That's going to go down here. But for Chase Brown efficiency, having Joe Burrow out there threatening deep with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase obviously opens things up more for Chase Brown. So obviously all good, all bad, not around. I will say one thing about Browning, though. Evan already alluded to it. In that 7-game stretch in 2023, Browning had 3 300-yard games and threw 11 touchdowns against 7 interceptions, averaged 267 yards per game. So, he at least is willing to sling it, is my point, where it's not going to be it's not going to be extremely coddled. So not great, but we'll see. We'll talk about this more on Wednesday and look for the rest of the season top 150 rankings and the updated redraft trade calculator that will also be up late tonight, early tomorrow. Second story of week 2 has to come from Minnesota, another nightmare. First home game, brand new quarterback in JJ McCarthy, Sunday Night Football. And JJ McCarthy looks like he forgot how to play football. I mean, missing guys all over the place, finishes 11 of 21 for 158, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And then Monday, out of nowhere, out of the stone cold blue, Vikings announced JJ McCarthy's out 2 to 4 weeks with an ankle injury, a quote unquote high ankle sprain, even though in the final plays of that Sunday night game, JJ McCarthy was running around fine. So, Evan, do you think this was a coach's decision to bench JJ McCarthy? Do you think his ankle is actually hurt? And what was your reaction to the way McCarthy played on Sunday night?
I mean, he's played 1 good quarter out of 8.
Yes.
And I definitely don't think that this was like a coach's decision. I think he has an actual high ankle sprain, and mobility is a big part of his game. And not having that, I mean, that's a big concern. He's not just going to miss 1 game either. It sounds like he's going to miss at least 2, maybe 3, maybe 4.
Mm-hmm.
High ankle sprains are rough, especially for quarterbacks that are mobile. It's a huge downgrade to Carson Wentz. It's not like they have, even like Andy Dalton, sitting there waiting in the wings. I mean,
or Sam Darnold,
or Sam Darnold. It's a really Carson Wentz has not played good football in a really long time.
Who do you think is better, Jake Browning or Carson Wentz?
I would definitely take my chances with Jake Browning.
I mean,
absolutely.
And I know this looks bad because McCarthy was so bad, but like Kevin O'Connell has done it with bad quarterbacks before. Mm-hmm. He's done it with Nick Mullins. He's done it with Josh Dobbs. He's done it with a bunch of guys. JJ McCarthy was like, and listen, I was on the Vikings. I did not think it was possible for JJ McCarthy to be that bad. Like outside of that 1 quarter against the Bears, he has looked like completely inept. And so, yeah, I think Carson Wentz might actually be better for Justin Jefferson, might actually be better for, and I don't like Carson Wentz, believe me, but better for Justin Jefferson, better for Jordan Addison. What do you think about that, Evan? Is it possible that you're better off now with Wentz for a little bit if you have Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison or Hawkinson?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't be willing to say that.
Okay.
I'm a little bit worried that TJ Hawkinson is cooked.
Okay.
By the way, I mean, he has not looked good through 2 games. The Vikings lost their center, Ryan Kelly, to a concussion.
Yep. Darrisaw can't get back. Yep.
Christian Darrisaw has not returned yet at left tackle. And his backup, Justin School, he suffered a concussion. Aaron Jones is out maybe multiple weeks with a hamstring injury. I think they're just going to build this offense around Jordan Mason going forward. Jordan Mason, if you look at rushing expected stuff, he's way above where he's supposed to be. And I mean, he's been really productive. Their number 2 running back now is Xavier Scott, a 2023 undrafted free agent who spent 7 years in college and is already 26 years old. He did run 4.49 at 6'1", 219 coming out of Maine. So he's a good athlete, but I mean, he's not like a legit NFL prospect. I think Jordan Mason could get, flirt with 30 touches against Cincinnati on Sunday.
Yeah, and so Jordan Mason walking into a really strong role here. Obviously, he shouldn't be on waivers anywhere. If he is, he was clearly the number 1 pickup of the week, but you can certainly start him here. And I didn't even look at his DFS price. I'm sure that we'll have a big projection on Jordan Mason home against the Bengals in week 3. The Aaron Jones pulled hamstring is frustrating because this is a guy that's had a lot of soft tissue injuries. He's older now, so it's a worrisome one. He's probably going to be out week 3. We'll see beyond that. Vikings have a bye in week 6. Would not surprise me if McCarthy, we'll see how Wentz does, but it would not surprise me if McCarthy doesn't play again until week 7 after that week 6 bye. Let's go to story number 3 of week 2. Comes from the Indianapolis Colts. This was a home game for the Colts against one of the best defenses in the NFL in the Denver Broncos. And the Colts go out and put 29 points on the board behind Daniel Jones, 316 yards, 107 passer rating. Daniel Jones is now fantasy's number 2 quarterback on the season behind only Lamar Jackson. And he's played one of these games against the Denver Broncos elite defense. I think what people want to know, Evan, how sustainable do you think this Colts offense is being led by Daniel Jones, currently one of the best in the NFL?
Talked about it. I think it was on the Sunday morning last minute live stream that we kind of missed on. Well, we definitely missed on Saquon Barkley last year, leaving the Giants situation for such a better situation with Philadelphia, and he just blew the doors off. Like that was such an environmental upgrade, and we just kind of didn't shoot high enough for how much we expected that to impact him. Daniel Jones is not going to the best situation in the league, and he has not gone to the best situation in the league in Indianapolis, but it's a way better situation than with the Giants. He's got a very stable offensive line. He's got the best running back in the league. Jonathan Taylor is on freaking fire right now. Pittman, Downs, Tyler Warren, Shane Steichen's a really good play caller. I think that was easy to kind of forget about the last few seasons, but he's a really, really good play caller. And so and Daniel Jones has mobility as well. So I don't know. What are we looking at? Are we starting to look at the MVP odds for Daniel Jones or what?
Daniel Jones has been a good fantasy player. His game is good for fantasy. He finished as
he has a top 10 fantasy season on his resume with the freaking Giants.
With the Giants, exactly. And so you can see it on Daniel Jones. Yes, I think that he probably, you probably have better options, but on a week-to-week basis, if you're a streamer in the right spots, you can stream Daniel Jones for sure. They're at Tennessee, at the Rams, versus Raiders the next 3. I would note in the fantasy playoffs, assuming Daniel Jones is still in there, they get Seattle, San Francisco, and Jacksonville. So pretty strong there. And yeah, I've always been a Danny Dimes guy, at least in fantasy. I'll leave the real life stuff to the real life ball knowers, but he's always been a strong fantasy player, and he's helping Jonathan Taylor here a ton. And we talked about this last week. Jonathan Taylor, 43 of 43 snaps in the first half of week 1, rested in the second half. Then in week 2 against the Broncos, Jonathan Taylor, 66 of 71 snaps in week 2, also ran 27 routes on 38 Danny Dimes dropbacks. This is better usage than JT has gotten his entire career. He is normally not in there on clean passing downs. He normally doesn't play every snap, and he's healthy, and he's still one of the most explosive backs in the league. So some of the stuff that we talked about right before the season, and we kind of got on this late in the process. Hopefully you guys got on it. Once Daniel Jones was announced the starter for the Colts, Jonathan Taylor became a priority in round 2, and it's worked out better than I even could have imagined because he's literally playing every snap and is one of the most explosive runners in the league. So I think JT can finish as fantasy's number 1 running back this season. That's certainly in the range of outcomes.
Yeah, he is a freight train, man. He had a 43-yard reception against Denver in week 2, and he hit 22.4 miles per hour on that reception. That is the fastest time clocked by a ball carrier in the NFL since Raheem Mostert in week 2 of the 2020 season.
Yeah.
The 2020 season was the pandemic year. It feels like forever ago. That's literally a half decade ago. Jonathan Taylor I'm really, really excited about him. I think he's going to crush all year as long as he stays healthy. This is a good environment for him. And like you said, his usage, man, I'd be very, very excited if you were able to land Jonathan Taylor in the second round.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I believe he was Evans. I actually don't know. I believe he was Evans.
He was my ideal pick.
Ideal pick in round 2. Mine was Chase Brown, and I took Chase Brown over Jonathan Taylor a lot this summer. That feels really bad right now. But yeah, that's really frustrating. Oh, one more Colts note. I thought Josh Downs was in big trouble after week 1. Good to see him bounce back here, gets a team high 8 targets, catches 6 of them for 51 yards. Maybe not a surprise because Surtain on Pittman, and so you get more targets to inside to Downs, but still only 23 routes on 38 dropbacks here for Downs, well behind Tyler Warren's routes, well behind Pittman, and well behind Pierce. So usage didn't change that much, but Downs did get more targets here, and he's just a good player, but the usage I think is going to be pretty spotty going forward every week for Josh Downs. Story 4, let's go to Washington football team, the Commanders. They were on a short week, Thursday night game in Lambeau, very tough spot. And they struggled. They put up 3 points, did the Commanders, in the first 3 quarters. Now, that was not the worst news of the night for the Commanders. They lose Austin Eckler for the season due to an Achilles tear in that game against the Packers. Shout out to Austin Eckler, friend of the fantasy community, did our show over the summer and was great. I feel like his career is likely over now, which really, really sucks. And then also in this game, Jaden Daniels sprained his knee. He was limping around a bit. They're calling him day-to-day and questionable for week 3. So just a total faceplant for the Commanders on all fronts. What do you think of their game in Lambeau and the Eckler-Daniels injuries, Evan?
Just could not protect against the Packers. And it's possible that nobody's going to be able to protect against the Packers all season long because the Lions couldn't protect against the Packers in week 1 either. And then Jared Goff had like the cleanest pocket in the NFL this past week. But yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels, he got pressured on 46% of his dropbacks against Green Bay. That's the most he's ever had in his career. The Commanders gave up 26 pressures to the Packers in week 2. That is an astronomical number. I know that people are pumping up Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt right now, and I kind of think that role, that Austin Eckler role, is just going to go straight to Jeremy McNichols, and that Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is not necessarily going to benefit from it. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt has 2 targets so far and 0 catches. Do they see him as a viable receiving option? If you look at his college track record, he had almost no receiving production.
Yeah.
And we can't deal with these guys who, he had 10 carries in week 1 and then 4 last week, and he has 0 catches. I mean, I think that he will eventually earn more than that. He's playing very well on his opportunities, but he's got to have some receiving usage, whatsoever, or else he's just going to be extremely touchdown dependent.
Yeah. And so, yeah, for sure. I do think the Austin Eckler injury does help him a little bit in that Eckler was taking some base, right? Like, I agree with you. I think that a lot of the strict pass down stuff is going to go straight to Jerry McNichols. But I do think JCM can get a little bit more base here. Now, I do think they could get Chris Rodriguez active. And that would not be good for JCM because Chris Rodriguez can take some goal line, can take some short yardage work, although that's not a foregone conclusion. We mentioned Jerry McNichols on pass downs. Then also you have Debo getting a carry or 2, maybe a game, and then Jaden Daniels running as well. So, I wouldn't call like JCM like a big, huge winner out of this or anything like that. The Jaden Daniels injury is not great because the rushing stuff is so huge for him. We saw him get banged up last season and he kind of stopped running for a little bit and it wasn't great. And so now with this sprained knee, I'm a little worried that we need to cap his rushing projection a bit in the models. Backup is Marcus Mariota if he can't go. As of now, we're going to project Jaden Daniels in, but I honestly have no idea if he's going to play or not again. It'll be Marcus Mariota in week 3 if Jaden can't go.
Couple more notes. Debo has 14 catches through 2 games. The people that predicted that he would be an awesome fit for Cliff Kingsbury, his scheme, take a victory lap. And then Zach Ertz has 9 touchdowns over his last 12 games. This guy just, he never dies.
Unreal.
Zach Ertz never dies.
Absolutely unreal. Zach Ertz continues to do it. Fifth story of the week comes from Jacksonville. Jaguars go to Cincinnati and lose 31-27 despite Joe Burrow leaving early. Honestly, I thought Trevor Lawrence deserved better in this game. Brian Thomas played like a horrific game, one of the worst you'll ever see. De'Ami Brown dropped one of the easiest touchdown passes that you'll ever see in your entire life. The story, though, Evan, I feel like is Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas has had the ninth best opportunity in the entire NFL this season. I'm not sure I've ever seen someone underperform their target/touches so drastically. What do you think is going on with Brian Thomas? I know they came out after the game was like, oh, he's got a hurt wrist. I don't know, man. What do you think is going on with Brian Thomas right now?
Yeah, hurt wrist, but was not on the injury report. I mean, if you just look at his targets, it looks like he doesn't want to run into contact. And Liam Cohen has made it a point that he wanted to use him more like in the slot over the middle of the field. Maybe he's not up for that. And then dropping passes, maybe that's tied to the wrist injury. I don't know. I don't even know if the wrist injury is real, but there's no question that Brian Thomas has played like crap through 2 games. He's got 21 targets and like 5 catches. I mean, it's been abysmal.
Do you think it's possible Mac Jones, no Liam Cohen, is a better setup?
By the way, played really well. We'll get to that, but he played really well.
Yeah, I mean, and I know this is not all on. It's not on Trevor Lawrence. A lot of this, more like 90% of it to me, has been on Brian Thomas.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But
Liam Cohen is trying to get him the ball. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I mean, ninth best opportunity. That's all positions, not just among wide receivers. Ninth best opportunity for Brian Thomas amongst all skill positions so far this year. So, I would probably be buying low. If forced to, sell, hold, buy, or whatever, I would be buying on Brian Thomas. But I understand it's a bit scary right now.
They got to get this figured out, and I think that they will.
Okay. This was the first Jaguars game without Tank Bigsby. Snaps were Travis Etienne, 47, Bashal Tutin, 18, Lakin Allen, 11. Routes were Etienne, 22, Allen, 7, Tutin, 6. Opportunities, Etienne, 17, Tutin, 10, Allen, 2. And if you watched Bashal Tutin in this game, he looked nasty, like an actual NFL difference-making running back, which was the thesis all along. So, Evan, what do you think of the Jaguars' first game without Tank Bigsby as it relates to the running backs?
Yeah, Tutin is nasty, man. He moves different than most running backs in the NFL, and we talked about how his athleticism is just off the charts. And they threw him that screen in scoring position. He just dusted a dude out of his broke his ankles and went to the house. And I mean, he's going to get more and more opportunities. Like Travis Etienne is good, but he wasn't good last year. He's good this year because he's healthy. But Bashal Tutin, I think, plays at a different level, plays at a different gear, and he's going to get more and more work the more he plays, and the more that he gains their trust in all facets.
Yeah, I mean, I think for now, somewhere in that like 7 to 11 touch range is probably a fair projection weekly for Bashal Tutin. It's annoying for both Etienne and Tutin that Lakeem Allen continues to play all these clear pass down snaps, but I think that's the way they're going to stick with it for a while. They obviously love Allen in pass protection there. Last Jaguars note I had, Evan, I'm curious your thought on this one because I know you like Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter only ran 60% of the routes in this game. Meanwhile, he's out there for 43 of 69 defensive snaps. Does that concern you long-term on Travis Hunter that he played so much defense? I know they lost a corner in this game to injury, I believe, but does it concern you at all that he played so much defense in this game?
Well, that's why he was in there on defense so much because Jerrion Jones got injured. Now we got to see if Jerrion Jones will play this week, and that may affect our projections and the way that we feel about Travis Hunter this week. But I mean, that's just what happened in that particular game, and also it led because Travis Hunter was playing so much in the slot. It led to Parker Washington playing a lot more than usual. Parker Washington is a true slot receiver, and he wound up leading the team in receiving.
Yeah.
But all those things, there's like a domino effect from Jerrion Jones going out. This doesn't happen to most NFL teams, but that's what happened to the Jaguars because they have a two-way player in Travis Hunter. Jerrion Jones goes out. Travis Hunter has to play more defense. Parker Washington plays more on offense.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not the risk that you take with other wide receivers, though. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a risk that there's going to be an in-game cornerback injury to any other wide receiver in the league, and he's going to lose routes because of that, So
he also did wind up running 60% of the routes. I mean, it's not like he totally went away.
The other issue I have with Travis Hunter is the way they're using him is so close to the line of scrimmage. I talked about this on the show last week. His average depth of target in the regular season is now 6.5 yards. It was 4 yards in the preseason. I mean, he had one target in week 1 that was deep. The rest of them, it's been like schemed short dump off type stuff to Travis Hunter. It's hard to make a good living that way in fantasy. Reminder, this show is indeed free, but if you want access to Silva and I show on Friday night, or our show on Sunday morning, or our projections, or Silva's matchups, or the rest of our in-season content, you need our in-season product. Check out the content schedule on the site for more. Really think it's hard to play seriously without it. And if you enjoy these shows, we have 9, I believe. I think it's 8 or 9 premium shows in the in-season product that do not hit this feed, only there in the in-season. All right, let's go to the NFC now. Going to go in alphabetical order, starting with the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals played really well early in this game against the Panthers, especially on defense. They got the touchdown there early, defensive touchdown there early, get out to a 27-3 lead early in the third. They take their foot off the gas late, have to hold on. I was relieved personally that the Marvin Harrison Jr. week 1 results, chemistry did not carry over to week 2. You know, Harrison behind both Trey McBride and Trey Benson in target share here in week 2, catches just 2 balls. McBride continues to be the focal point of the offense each and every week. Evan, what do you think of Harrison's dud here, and any other Cardinals thoughts off of their win over the Panthers?
Yeah, the Cardinals only ran 48 plays on offense.
Yep.
So that's always going to be an issue. Kyler Murray had 25 attempts. Marvin Harrison wound up with 5 of those 5 targets on those 25 attempts. That's very frustrating in and of itself. I think that the biggest takeaway from the game is that Trey Benson and James Conner, I mean, that's trending towards a 50-50 timeshare.
In this game, it was Conner 30 snaps, Benson 25, Benson 16 routes, Conner 12 opportunities, Conner 12, Benson 9. They were winning the game by so much. I kind of think they went to more Benson a little bit because of that, even though the final score looked close. But
yeah, they were up 20-3 at half.
Yeah, and 27-3 early in the third, and then that was on a Conner touchdown, I believe, and then it started going more Benson. So I think when in closer games, it'll be more like 65-35, 60-40, but Benson's coming. I mean, we talked about this on last week's show. There's no doubt about it.
Wouldn't you think, though, that, in a game like where they're up 23, like James Conner would be your closer back and you would just feed him as opposed to putting in the sophomore, speedy back?
I think that's a fair point, and I think they like Trey Benson and they want to get him reps. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, even in close games, I think it's going to be more like 60-40, 65-35, stuff like that in favor of Conner. Last Cardinals note I had, another touchdownless game for Trey McBride. He now has 397 receptions in college and the NFL, and he's only scored 16 touchdowns on those. It's like a historically low touchdown rate, and all the regression stuff is going to be like, he's going to score, he's going to score. I'm starting to think maybe it's something in his game. I don't know, man. It's just, he just doesn't score. I don't know, Evan. Do you think there's something in his game here, or are we going to get smacked in the face with regression ever on Trey McBride?
He didn't score a lot of touchdowns in college either.
That's what I'm saying.
And I was listening to this offseason. I had nothing better to do. So I was listening to a ship chasing episode. and I don't know if they were joking or anything, but they made a bet, how many touchdowns do you think Trey McBride scored his senior year in high school? And they went back and looked at that. He scored 1 touchdown his senior year in high school.
It's insane. It really is. He has almost 400 catches being college NFL with 16 touchdowns. That's how much Rob Gronkowski was scoring in a season. Forget about 400 catches worth, but whatever. All right. Falcons. Falcons went to Minnesota on Sunday night. I thought the Vikings would win. Another Vikings thing I was dead wrong about. Falcons get a really good win in Minnesota on Sunday Night Football. Defense was all over McCarthy. We talked about the Darisaw stuff, the center stuff for the Vikings. Vikings only managed 6 points. Offensively, Michael Penix, and I only say that because Michael Penix only needed 21 pass attempts here. The defense was so dominant. Penix only gets off 21 pass attempts. Meanwhile, Bijan and Algier combined for 38 rushes, 217 rushing yards, and a touchdown. So I think it could have been a better day for Penix if he was asked to. They just didn't need it. Evan, what do you think of Falcons' win on Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, and I think that one of the assumptions that at least I had entering the season was that the Falcons' defense was going to remain problematic like it has forever. But, they have used a lot of early round draft picks on their defense, and I think that Raheem Morris is a guy who can scheme it up. Now, J.J. McCarthy played like crap in this game.
Yeah.
But if the defense is like competent or like maybe even good in Atlanta this year, that's going to be awesome news for Bijan Robinson, and definitely a concern for the volume of the passing game.
It was good to see Darnell Mooney back in this game. He missed week 1 with that shoulder issue. Mooney returned 24 routes on 24 Michael Penix dropbacks, so no easing in of Darnell Mooney there, which was good. And I also thought Mooney was open for a touchdown, and Penix threw it to him, but it was like short and kind of one-hopped it to him. But Mooney was open in the end zone, and that probably should have been a touchdown there from Penix to Mooney.
I get a lot of heat for having Kyle Pitts as like a top 10, 12 fantasy tight end entering the season. And I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about that right now. I mean, he had 4 for 37 here. Nobody's going to do anything when the quarterback, nobody in the passing game is going to do anything when the quarterback throws for 135 yards.
He looks better.
Yeah. And I think his route rate, I haven't specifically looked at it, but I think his route rate is way up as well.
Yeah. And I think the important thing to me is he looks like actually athletic out there, whereas in the past he has not been getting.
He's 24 years old.
But yeah, I mean,
24-year-old former Mackey Award winner.
I was one of the people that made fun of Evan for the Kyle Pitts ranking. I do not think I took Kyle Pitts much at all. And yeah, it certainly looks good right now. Panthers lose 27-22, and Arizona was not that close. As we mentioned, they were down 27-3 early in the third quarter. Then they mount this garbage time comeback. What you got from that was Bryce Young dropping back 59 times in this game. That is going to be good for all pass catchers. Well, other than Xavier Legette, of course, more on him in a second. But Evan, what do you think of this weird Panthers game where they play bad, get behind huge, and then end up with a good box score because Bryce Young drops back 59 times?
I think that, it was just specific to that game. They certainly don't want to play that way. Their entire offense is built. I mean, with all the money and draft picks that they've invested in their offensive line, their offense is built to run the football. So that was just specific to that game. The 59 dropbacks, that is just absurd. We saw Tet go for 100, though. That was really, really nice. I think he looks like, he's going to be a baller in this league for a long, long time. Hunter Renfrow scores 2 touchdowns. I did notice that he operated as he's the number 2 receiver now.
Yeah. Well,
Legette is, oh my God. Legette is like the worst player in the NFL.
Xavier Legette has been targeted 15 times this season. It's resulted in 8 receiving yards. 15 targets has resulted in 8 receiving. He looks like he just can't play out there. And so they're using these guys, some guy I never heard of, like Benjamin or something like that. I don't even know. And then they're also using Hunter Renfrow, as Evans said.
Bryson Tremaine.
Tremaine, that's who it is. Yeah. Never heard of him. And then
Benjamin.
And then Hunter Renfrow as a number 2. Also, Evan, I don't know if you caught this. Robert Hunt and Austin Corbett.
Yes.
Robert Hunt, the right guard, tore his bicep, and Austin Corbett, the center, sprained his MCL. They're going to miss significant time, both of them. So you mentioned this team was like built to run the ball. Their offensive line could be bad now. And those injuries.
I know. No, that's actually the one takeaway that you can have from, because this game was so weird. I don't think you can really have any takeaways from the box score results, but you can have the takeaway that they lost their Pro Bowl right guard, Rob Hunt. He tore his biceps. He's already on IR. He's probably done for the year, actually. And Austin Corbett, I had him with a torn MCL, not just a sprain.
Yeah.
So I'm worried that he's going to miss, 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. That's not good for this offense.
Certainly not. And obviously Bryce, struggling in real life is not good either. I will say, Tedero and McMillan, I think they have a hit there. I think Tedero McMillan is a hit through 2 NFL starts. He's seen 19 targets for a 21% share, already has 11 catches. Given what's going on with some of these other guys, a friend of the show, Kirk Evans, was shilling me Tedero McMillan 8-1 to be offensive rookie of the year. Given what's going on with some of these other rookies, I thought that was interesting. He doesn't like to be called Tet. Tetaroa is a baller for sure. I actually believe the current favorite right now, Evan, for offensive rookie of the year, you know who it is? Shout out Penn State, baby. Tyler Warren down to around plus 450 to be the offensive rookie of the year. Let's go to the Chicago Bears. Bears went to Detroit for the Ben Johnson Bowl and got absolutely trounced. Bears defense was laughable. They are now the worst in the NFL in yards per play allowed, despite having faced JJ McCarthy and Jared Goff. Bright spot was clearly Rome Odunze. He's playing a ton of slot. He's running every route. He leads the team with a 29% target share. He's performed well. But beyond that, it's hard to say good things right now about the Bears. Evan, what do you think of their game against the Lions?
Yeah, they just got embarrassed. And Ryan Poles, to whom the Bears signed an extension in the offseason, the Bears are now 15-38 under Ryan Poles. Chicago Sports Radio is great because now they're doing the hindsight draft analysis. In the fourth round, we took Torrey Taylor, the punter out of Iowa. Look at 4 picks later, there's, that guy, whereas at the time they loved, Torrey Taylor, he's going to be a field flipper. He's going to be a difference maker for us. It was a disaster. DeAndre Swift had a killer fumble. Lost fumble on what probably should have been a scoring drive. Caleb Williams, he is winning on the opening scripts of Ben Johnson. I actually think that Ben Johnson is doing a very fine job, an admirable job, actually, from a scheming standpoint. But then when the scripted plays run out, Caleb Williams he starts to sputter. And that's happened in each of the Bears' first 2 games. There's already talk of the Bears benching Darnell Wright, who they drafted in the 2023 first round with a top 10 pick. Speaking of top 10 picks, Colston Loveland, did he even have a target on Sunday?
He has no catches through 2 weeks. I know that. He ran 21 routes and Komet ran 33.
I mean, these guys are top 10 picks in the draft. And the defense is the worst, and they have no prayer. Like, they're not going to be able to fix this because they don't have individual pass rushers, and they just lost their all-pro caliber cornerback, Jalen Johnson, probably for the season because he aggravated a groin injury that had kept him out of all of training camp, and video came out of him talking about that specific injury. He tore the adductor off the bone or something like that, sits out training camp. Doesn't play in week 1, plays in week 2, aggravates the injury, probably now done for the season. So you don't have guys who can rush the passer, and you don't have guys who can cover.
Yeah.
Like, you are absolutely screwed. They're gonna be. I mean, they can end up having the worst defense in the NFL this year. The Bears.
Yep, and they play the Cowboys this week. I was already looking at that spot a little bit.
Baby, licking our chops with CeeDee Lamb and Pickens and Dak Prescott. I can't wait.
The other rookie note, I mentioned the Colston Loveland playing behind Cole Kmet. Luther Burden only 5 routes here. Alameda Zacchaeus 19 routes in this game for the Bears. Even as they're getting crushed, still Luther Burden only 5 routes in this game.
I'll tell you what, though, Ben Johnson in his Monday presser, he was like, all right, we are going to open jobs to competition. And he said that we need to get more, quote unquote, more packages for Luther Burden.
Yeah.
Also, there is like some light buzz that DJ Moore is on the outs in Chicago, that he might actually be moved. And, in theory, like, what are you going to trade a veteran, multiple-time Pro Bowl receiver when you're trying to build up your quarterback? Well, DJ Moore isn't really an asset to Caleb Williams anymore. He wasn't an asset last year either. And he's an inherited guy. And this coaching regime, they drafted Luther Burden. Mm-hmm. So the one way you can justify that is by trading DJ Moore and just playing Luther Burden more.
Yep. Not the craziest thing I've ever heard, especially if things continue to spiral downward in Chicago as they appear to be doing. Let's go to those Dallas Cowboys. This was an insane game. Insane win for the Cowboys over the Giants at home. Brandon Aubrey makes a 64-yard field goal to tie it at the end of regulation, then a 46-yard in overtime to win it. Dak Prescott dropped back 57 times in this game, allowing CeeDee, Pickens, Fergie, all to get going, especially after Gavontae Turpin left with a neck injury. Evan, what did you think of Cowboys win over the Giants?
Yeah, it's funny you put in our Slack that you thought that the Giants were going to beat the Cowboys outright, and it almost happened.
Yeah.
And me and Dago kind of gave you some crap about that, but you almost got that one. Um, yeah, no, this is the way that I wanted to see the Cowboys play offense this year, and I'm hopeful that they will continue to play offense like this year. Jake Ferguson came up with a big game. I was huge on him. Pickens, who had a kind of quiet week one, 5 for 68 and a touchdown. CD has back-to-back 110 plus yard games. I'm just going to capitulate right away on Javonte Williams. I should have factored in more that he's now 2 years removed from that devastating knee injury. And I mean, I just totally wrote him off. And I kind of got obsessed with Jaden Blue too much, who hasn't even been active on game days yet. And I just didn't even give Javonte Williams a chance. And 100% capitulation. I blew it. I mean, and if they keep scoring like this, like Javonte Williams is going to score a lot of touchdowns this year.
Yeah. Well, I'll say a couple things. First, on Javonte Williams, to me, it's like price. Like he was available in like the 11th round, a starting running back, a feature running back in the 11th round, probably isn't going to be that bad. Even if he isn't that good. I still am somewhat skeptical that Javonte can sustain this for a full season, but it certainly looks good for him right now. There's no doubt about that. As Evan mentioned, Jaden Blue has been inactive, healthy scratch for each of the first 2 weeks. Miles Sanders, I thought, was bad again, but did get a touchdown in this game, executed on a goal line rush. So I was hoping that Miles Sanders would continue to mess up and Jaden Blue would get in there and be active, but doesn't look great. Javonte Williams also 7 targets in this game, so he continues to play well in the pass game. What I will say we did get right in the preseason was how some of these Cowboys games can go. After you trade Micah Parsons, you have one of the worst defenses in the league. Your running game is meh. Like, let's drop Dak back 35, 40 times. Obviously, 57 times is not realistic, but 30, 35, 40 times in a game is very realistic, and you start to get these high-end pass game outcomes for Dallas, which is what we got next and what we're going to project against the Bears here in week 3 as well.
Has the I know you don't even pay attention to this, so I don't know why I'm asking you, but the week 2 NFC Offensive Player of the Week come out yet?
No. I mean, wasn't JJ McCarthy the week 1 Offensive Player of the Week?
Yes.
That shows you how meaningless that award is.
Jared Goff.
It's got to be.
And I would expect it to be Jared Goff this week, and then the Bears play the Cowboys next. And Dak Prescott has been balling. So wouldn't that be amazing if the NFC Offensive Player of the Week is just whoever the Bears play every week? Dak Prescott is balling out, too. We need to show him some love. I mean, he's playing at a really, really high level. It didn't show up in the box score in week 1 against Philadelphia. You remember that?
Yep.
In large part due to drops and just some things that happened during the game. But it showed up here. Really excited about him. The Cowboys did lose their starting center, who's a stud, Cooper Beebe, to a lateral ankle sprain and a broken bone in his foot. His backup is Bryce Hoffman, who has made 9 starts for the Cowboys over the past 3 years, but, a little bit of a concern there.
Let's go to the Detroit Lions. So they hosted the Bears in that Ben Johnson Bowl, and it was an eruption. We talked about how outside Packers, week 1, really good defense. Lions struggled, but home on the turf, got on some Lions stacks week 2 DFS. You can listen to the solo pod for more on that, but they were awesome. Jared Goff, there was 5 touchdowns. Amon-Ra goes nuts. Jameson Williams, 2 monster plays. They put 52 on the Bears, and all these concerns about, the Lions suck without Ben Johnson. They can't do anything without Ben Johnson. Well, they put 52 on. Now, Bears might have the worst defense in the league, so I'm not saying that it's going to be fine long-term for sure for Lions, but I thought that they still had this in them even without Ben Johnson. Good to see him do it. Evan, what do you think of Lions going nuts in week 2?
It was great. It was great to see, so reassuring because, look, they changed offensive coordinators and people have a lot of respect, I think, in the league even, for Ben Johnson. And John Morton doesn't really have a great track record or anything like that. So to see, also you remember we talked about, I think it was on the Sunday morning show or maybe the Friday show, how we thought that the Lions might want to run it up a little bit in this game because of the revenge game factor. I think they actually did. That was actually a talking point too in one of Ben Johnson's press conferences, and he was like, "I'm fine with it. That's what they do, But the Lions kind of did run it up, And I mean, I don't mind it. I like seeing that, especially, as someone who has a lot of Jamison Williams and Jameer Gibbs. Jameer Gibbs, by the way, hit 22.2 miles per hour or something on a run in this game. So all the explosion is right there, obviously. Dave Montgomery was very involved.
Yeah.
He's going to be useful. But Jameer Gibbs is playing at a super high level too.
For sure. Gibbs is awesome. But, Montgomery's role, I mean, he had 12 opportunities here to Dave Montgomery. They got down to the one, and Montgomery was the one who got to punch it in from the goal line. So, Jameer Gibbs is still going to be incredible. The only reason that I disagreed with Evan at number one overall is because of this David Montgomery stuff. And, you saw it somewhat come into play here where Gibbs didn't get to go completely nuts.
I'm interested to see at what point did they start to increase Isaac Tesla's usage, because it's been very, very minimal so far. But this guy is he's averaging a highlight reel catch per game so far through 2 NFL games. I mean, he had a 29-yarder that was almost a touchdown in this game, and of course he made a leaping three-yard touchdown in the first week. I'm interested to see when they start to open him up a little bit in terms of his usage.
That would be great to see for sure. Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. This was the Thursday game, as we mentioned, against the Commanders in Lambeau. Defense was incredible. Jordan Love was super sharp again. I mean, I thought he was awesome in week 1 and maybe even better in week 2. He wasn't pushed. Like, the Packers never really needed it, but you saw them lean into the pass more in neutral/leading situations here in week 2. Love ends up with 292 yards and 3 touchdowns on 31 attempts. And of course, the story, Evan, was Tucker Kraft looking like George Kittle combined with Zeus, combined with Prime Kelsey. I mean, people are getting really, really excited about Tucker Kraft as he goes 6'1", 24-1 here. And people are going to go even more crazy on Kraft because now Jaden Reed is going to be out a couple months with a broken collarbone injury, opening up even more targets here for Tucker Kraft. So, Evan, what do you think of Packers game on Thursday night?
Yes, just hyper efficient. I mean, this team looked like it's going to be really, really hard to beat over the course of the year. I do think that the Packers having such an elite defense could hurt the passing game members to an extent, but as it begins to become more condensed, like with Jaden Reed suffering this broken collarbone, he's going to be out for a long time. Then that's obviously going to help. Tucker Kraft, by the way, on the season has a 10-yard ADOT. That is not common for a tight end. Matthew Golden has a lot of air yards, and I mean, he's been getting open, but they just have not been connecting.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Xavier Worthy early last season where Mahomes kept trying to find him deep, and they were just off, and they've been just off from some big plays with Matthew Golden. And
I also kind of wonder, is the light quietly starting to flip on for Dontavian Wicks, who's had, not a superstar start to the season or anything, but I mean, he's been efficient, and we've always known that he can separate. Yep. It's just a matter of him like finishing in terms of his ball skills, but he's been finishing so far this year.
Yeah, and Jaden Reed only ran 2 routes in this game before leaving early. So on 34 Jordan Love dropbacks, Romeo Doubs led the way with 26, then Golden 23, then Wicks 22, then Malik Heath 7. So still somewhat of a rotation going on there and plenty of 2 tight end sets. But yeah, I mean, Wicks, Golden, and Doubs are very clearly here going to get chances.
Yep.
Let's go to Rams. Rams went to Tennessee. Matthew Stafford was very sharp, and Rams win 33-19. We talked Sunday morning on the show about the Devontae Adams stuff. Week 1 against the Texans was tough for Devontae, getting shadowed by Derek Stingley. Here, in this game, Devontae Adams actually out-targets Puka Nacua 13-9 and goes off for 6-106. Evan, what do you think of Rams game in Tennessee?
Yeah, Devontae Adams can still play, man. I mean, and he's confirmed it so far this year, even after having to deal with Derek Stingley in week 1. He's averaging 2.6 yards per route run through 2 games, got a 35% target share, 43% air yard share. What we've really liked about this Rams offense in the past is that it is so condensed. We know where the ball is going to go every single week. That stabilizes the players' box score consistency from week to week and raises their ceiling. So Devontae Adams is looking like an awesome pick, especially after he fell, because of the Matthew Stafford concerns. And I mean, I dropped him a little bit too, but he's looking like a great pick right now. Puka Nacua on a 4th-and-1 play turns a jet sweep into a 45-yard rushing touchdown against the Titans. That dude is just different. And Stafford's playing really, really well. I mean, Stafford has been really, really good through 2 games, and so this offense is clicking on all cylinders.
Puka and Devonta Adams have combined to see 66% of Matthew Stafford's targets so far. I mean, they're going to break the record for concentration, whatever it is. I would have note on the running back stuff. I don't know if you caught this, Evan, but small crack finally on the Kyren Williams usage. Blake Corum played 18 of 61 snaps. Blake Corum also got a clock-killing drive to himself in the 4th quarter, finished it with a goal line touchdown. So, and after the game, McVay said the split today between Kyren and Blake was much more in alignment with how he wants it to look. Now, they've been saying this for a long time, and a lot of Blake Corum snaps came in clock-killing mode, as I said. But do you think this is going to be sticky at all, Evan? Do you buy what McVay is saying here, that Corum's going to continue to play 25, 30, 35% of the snaps?
It's a really good question. And based on Sean McVay's history, I'm going to remain skeptical until I see it repeated. But I think that Blake Corum can play. I mean, I think he can absolutely play on the same level as Kyren Williams. It's just that trust factor that has been keeping Kyren Williams so far ahead of him. And they also did activate Jarquez Hunter. He did not touch the ball in this game. I think he only played on special teams.
Yep.
But they did have him active, which I thought was notable. Maybe another sign that, they do want to involve more than one back.
Yeah, they have to play at Philly next. Obviously, very, very difficult spot coming up here for Kyren and Blake Corum. Kyren still led 19-5 over Corum in opportunities in this game. And so, I think that I tend to lean more towards what Evan is saying, where I'll believe when I see it, when they actually give Corum important touches. Let's go to the New Orleans Saints. Saints lose to Mac Jones and the 49ers at home, even though I thought Spencer Rattler was decent in this game. He missed one throw. I mean, Chris Olave had like a sick route. I think this is on Norris's Twitter if you guys want to find it, but sick route, and he was wide open in the end zone, and Rattler just threw it behind him. But Rattler also made some really good throws in this game. YPA, his yards per attempt was bad, but he did throw 3 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. You also get Juwan Johnson and Olave running like every route, and then Cooks and Shaheed not far behind, and they play fast and they throw a ton. So I still like the Saints setup here. If they could just get decent to good average quarterback play, these guys would be going nuts. Evan, any thoughts on Saints game here against the 49ers?
Yeah, I think that, this is just going to be the same kind of deal every week, where we're just hoping that the quarterback can be competent enough. We know the volume's going to be there for Olave, and to a little bit lesser extent, Rashid, definitely Juwan Johnson. But it's, can the quarterback play get them where we want them to go? We know they're going to have opportunities. The big thing that I would add to that is just I think that people should be grabbing Kendra Miller in their fantasy leagues and just putting him on the end of their bench, because I think that Alvin Kamara could get traded before the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely no rational reason to hang on to Alvin Kamara past the NFL trade deadline. Kendra Miller's been operating as the backup. By the way, Juwan Johnson, another sick catch here, 37 routes on 40 Rattler dropbacks for Juwan Johnson, who continues to impress. Let's go to the New York Giants. Giants go to Dallas, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns in this overtime loss to the Cowboys. Like 99th percentile outcome for Russ Wilson, doesn't even describe it. Like I would have thought this was, if we ran the sim 100,000 times, I didn't think this outcome would even come out once for Russell Wilson. Evan, especially after the way he played in week 1, which was like downright horrific. Evan, what do you think of Russ and the Giants in Dallas?
Yeah, I had no idea that this was even in the range of potential outcomes, especially with no Andrew Thomas. It does go to show how bad the Cowboys defense could potentially be, though. Trevon Diggs and Kaiir Elam are just getting cooked outside, and Deron Bland is injured. So that's something to note. But, yeah, I didn't think that was going to happen.
I mean, this has to extend the leash on Russ longer, right? I mean, we were talking last week, maybe he gets benched at halftime if he doesn't play well against Dallas. I feel like a game like this has to extend your leash somewhat. If Russ struggles in the next game or two, they're like, well, I don't know if I'm going to go to Jackson Dart. Russ just put up 450 yards and 3 touchdowns against Dallas. So I wanted to note that. The other big note from this game, Evan, was the running back stuff. So after week 1, Tyrone Tracy criticized the Giants' goal line play calling in the media. And in week 2, Cam Scatabo outsnapped Tyrone Tracy 35-28. Scatabo 19 routes, Tracy 18. Opportunities, Scatabo 14, Tracy 10. I still think Tracy's a pretty good player. I know Evan was probably higher than me on Scatabo before the season coming in here. Evan, how sticky do you think Scatabo moving ahead of Tracy here is?
I think that in the cookies and cream backfield, the cream rises. And Cam Scatabo is better than Tyrone Tracy in every phase of the game. And that was evident on Sunday. And Tyrone Tracy is a useful, complementary back, but I think that Cam Scatabo can be an actual feature back who can play on all 3 downs. And you see some of his runs. He's so physical, man. I mean, and he gives them an identity as a runner. And I think that's something that coaches love.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting projection here this week between those two, Tracy and Scatabo for sure. But it's early, and Scatabo's a rookie, and he has his nose in front. So it's certainly a good sign there for Cam Scatabo. Let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles went to Arrowhead for the Super Bowl rematch against the Chiefs, and they win 20-17, even though Jalen Hurts only throws for 101 yards, even though no Goddard. It's just the defense is so good. The run game is so good. Saquon is so good. And honestly, the tush push is so good. They sustain drives and they bleed so much clock. So let's say you get a 2nd and 1 or something like that. For most teams, it's going to be quick. They're going to get a first down. They're going to throw the ball. Eagles, it could be 3 straight tush pushes. And next thing you know, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes is off the clock. Next thing you know, Jalen Hurts has only dropped back 21 times in the game. So I know there's a lot of panicked A.J. Brown, a lot of panicked Devontae Smith people out there. Evan, what do you think about Eagles right now?
Yeah, per our buddy Mike Renner, the Eagles ran 7 tush pushes in this game.
Yeah.
12% of their offensive play calls were tush pushes. You remember when there was discussion that the Eagles might get rid of the tush push because Jason Kelce was retiring? Yeah, that's not something that we're talking about any longer. The issue in the passing game is that there's just no volume right now, and that explains A.J. Brown. I saw some statistics talking about A.J. Brown's win rate on his routes in week 2, because that was a little bit of a concern coming out of week 1. Well, they had the long week after the Thursday night game, and he was winning at a super high rate on his routes. But the Eagles only are throwing the ball 22 times a game. Last year, they threw the ball 26.4 times per game, and that was the lowest in the league. And they're below that right now. So that's what's hurting the guys in the passing game in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, will it change, I think, is the question. And the Eagles are not going to force it. They do not care that A.J. Brown's going to be pissed off soon. They do what it takes to win, and often that's not Jalen Hurts throwing. Now, when he's asked to, when they need him to, as we've seen, there will be big passing days. I do not think Jalen Hurts is incapable. Jalen Hurts is very, very capable of having huge passing days. I just worry the team is simply too good for A.J. Brown to really go nuts. And so we're going to have a tough time here in the rest of the season, top 150. Obviously, there's going to be some regression. They're not going to average 22 pass attempts for an entire season, but just sticking with that 26 from last year, A.J. Brown did have 1,100 yards in 13 games last year with them only averaging 26 pass attempts per game. But it's scary, man. It's scary for sure. Where would you take A.J. Brown right now, Evan, in if you were drafting today?
I would take him. Geez, I don't know.
I still think round 3.
The 4th round, maybe?
I still think round 3, but I hear you. I wouldn't blame you for round 4.
And I also will say that, if we want we want scenarios where the Eagles could get pushed, they play the Rams this week, and the Rams gave them a hell of a time in the playoffs last year.
And then the Bucs after that, you could see some spots where they have to throw, for sure. Let's go to the San Francisco 49ers. No Brock Purdy, no George Kittle, no Brandon Ayuk. Kyle Juszczyk leaves early, no problem, because the 49ers had Mac Jones leading them to a 26-21 win. Mac Jones, I mean, he can support fantasy guys, man. Look at what he did last year with the Jaguars down the stretch. And now with Juwan Jennings, who missed all of camp, barely practiced ahead of week 2 with his shoulder, he goes off for 589-1. Evan, any thoughts on the Mac Jones performance and 49ers win?
He can support guys. He also supported Kendrick Bourne to one of his best seasons of his career in New England. And also Jacoby Myers had a really nice season with Mac Jones at quarterback in New England. So he can get it done. And I think that, I mean, again, it's like the Sam Darnold situation last year with Kevin O'Connell. We're sticking a guy who, I mean, he has enough talent that he was a first-round pick in the draft, and Mac Jones, the 49ers almost took him at number 3 overall, but apparently people in the front office talked him out of that, and they went with Trey Lance, which was obviously a disaster. Mac Jones now goes to San Francisco. He's in that system that Kyle Shanahan thought he was a great – I mean, look at the results right away. And this is with we need to keep it – this is with a very shorthanded supporting cast. You got to keep an eye on Juwan Jennings. This dude keeps getting hurt. It was a calf injury, although maybe it was a phantom calf injury throughout training camp. And then it was the shoulder after week 1. And now he's dealing with an ankle injury. He's a freaking gamer, though. I'll tell you what, man. I mean, the dude barely practices. He goes 5 for 89 and a touchdown on 10 targets. He's a really good player, but he keeps getting banged up.
Are you concerned, Evan, that Juwan Jennings on a per route basis, on a per game basis, continues to draw more targets than Ricky Pearsall? I mean, this has been a recurring theme where Juwan Jennings looks like more of the alpha compared to Ricky Pearsall. Does that concern you at all?
I mean, Ricky Pearsall went for over 100 yards in week 1, and he went 4 for 56 on 6 targets here. I don't know that Ricky Pearsall is like an alpha guy who's going to be getting like 12 targets a game. I would like to see him get up closer to 10, no question. He's been playing really well with his opportunities, but you're right. They've been a little bit limited, at least as compared to Juwan Jennings. His yards per route run, he's at like 2.6 yards per route run on the season, Ricky Pearsall. So he's been efficient with his chances. We want to see him get more chances. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, the Christian McCaffrey stuff is just so absurd. 19 more touches here, 6 catches and a receiving touchdown as well. Home against Arizona, then home against Jacksonville. And I mean, this is after facing Seattle, New Orleans. This schedule that the 49ers have is just cake, man. It's like absolutely, it looks like a Notre Dame schedule. No offense, Evan.
Whoa. First of all, that is pure misinformation. Notre Dame has lost 2 games in a row by a combined 4 points to 2 top 10 teams.
Right. And the rest of their teams that they play are total cupcakes. It's like the 49ers schedule.
Whatever.
Okay. Let's go to the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks go into Pittsburgh and get a really good win, 31-17, despite 2 Sam Darnold interceptions. The story for fantasy was the big Kenneth Walker game. 13 carries, 105 yards, and a touchdown rushing. Also caught his only target for a 13-yard gain. Clearly, he moves more explosively, more athletically, differently than Zach Charbonnet. But usage was kind of the same. Charbonnet led 36-23 in snaps. Charbonnet led 13-7 in routes. Walker played better. Drive lasted longer. Maybe that means he'll earn more. But yeah, Evan, what do you think of Seattle and the running back split here in week 2?
Yeah, and then Mike McDonald was talking, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, we're doing this on Monday. Yeah, his Monday press conference. And he was like, in the first game, the plays were blocked better for Charbonnet, and Walker had no room to run. And that was absolutely true. And then it flipped in week 2. And also Mike McDonald acknowledged that Kenneth Walker is still dealing with the foot injury, at least to a little bit, which, I mean, that's impressive, that Kenneth Walker was able to perform like that while dealing with the foot injury, but that they're going to continue to rotate. They're going to use 2 backs. Also, Zach Charbonnet had an elite pass blocking grade from PFF in both of the games. So that's going to keep him on the field. Kenneth Walker is definitely more talented. That has never been in doubt. Kenneth Walker always had the bigger upside. My concern coming into the season was just that it seemed to be assumed that Kenneth Walker was going to run away with this job under a new coaching staff when Zach Charbonnet is good in certain areas. He was a second-round pick. I didn't think that Kenneth Walker was like going to erase him like some people thought that he was going to, and he hasn't so far. But there has never been a doubt that Kenneth Walker is a more explosive player and offers a much higher ceiling. I continue to be very, very impressed by Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's like one of the best receivers in the league. I think we can say that with utmost confidence. He is at 4.3 yards per route run, which is that's like a crazy number in college.
Yeah.
Playing in the friggin' Big 12 or something like that. And target shares of 59% in week 1 and 33% in week 2.
Yeah.
So JSN killing it. One of the best receivers in the league, no question. Shout out to Brian Hartline for being on top of that from day one.
It was good to see preseason star Torrey Horton get a touchdown here. He only ran 18 routes on 35 dropbacks, but he is the number 3 wide receiver. They're just playing a lot of 2 tight end stuff, obviously with Barner out there for every snap and mixing in Arroyo. But yeah, good to see Horton get out there and get the touchdown. Let's go to the Tampa Bay Bucks, last NFC team. They went to Houston last night, Monday night, and get another win, game-winning drive executed by Baker Mayfield and Rachaad White. I thought given the spot, this is a very good Texans defense, very good pass rush, no Tristan Wirfs again for the Bucks. I thought the Bucks played pretty well, lack of explosive plays, but that was kind of expected. Evan, what do you think of Tampa's win in Houston last night?
Yeah, so is Tampa 2-0?
Yes.
Yes, they are. Baker Mayfield, I was looking at PFF grades, and he's like the second worst graded quarterback in the NFL through 2 games at PFF. But they've been getting it done. He's a grinder. I mean, he was at 5.7 yards per attempt. I think that in this particular game, Bucky Irving looked awesome.
Yeah.
I know that Rachaad White got a touchdown, and Rachaad White played really well too. But Bucky Irving was a stud in this game. The Bucks lost their starting right tackle Luke Goedeke, so now they're technically without both of their starting tackles because Tristan Wirfs is not back yet. We need to get Tristan Wirfs back, and then I think we will be able to see the Buccaneers take a step forward offensively. But I mean, they've been just kind of scraping by so far. And Emeka Egbuka, who had the 2 touchdown week 1, he kind of scraped by this week just because he scored the 1 touchdown, 4 for 29 on 7 targets.
Yeah, they scheme stuff to Egbuka. They also look for him in red zone stuff, also not just the Mike Evans jump balls. So I was pretty encouraged by Egbuka, even though it didn't look great in the final box score outside of the touchdown. And speaking of final box score, it looks like it was a really even split or somewhat even split between Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. If you watch the game, it was not. Bucky Irving was the featured back. It's just Rachaad White got hot like somewhere later in the second half, and they just stuck with him. And he played really well. And Rachaad White's a good player, but Bucky Irving is unquestioned feature back here, and he played an awesome game as well. Let's move it over to the AFC now. Start with the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens started slow in this game against the Browns. They only had 10 points at halftime, but Lamar got hot late, ends up with 4 passing touchdowns on just 29 attempts. Actually had another touchdown to Mark Andrews that got knocked out of his hands at the last second by Grant Delpit. But Evan, what do you think of Derrick Henry's egg here against the Browns, and any other Ravens thoughts?
Yeah, what are the odds of the Ravens putting up 41 points and Derrick Henry he had 2.3 fantasy points in this game? Brutal. I mean, Lamar threw 4 touchdowns. They were hyper efficient. The Browns never threatened really. And it was just, a specific game, unfortunately, for Derrick Henry fantasy owners.
It was good to me, and we talked about Zay Flowers a bunch last week, but good to see him continue to consolidate target share, whereas I think it can be really flat sometimes, and when it's flat and Lamar doesn't throw that much, it can be scary for Zay Flowers. But as long as he's getting these big target shares, there's certainly more upside there than maybe I thought before the year. But that was good to see for sure.
And he was a guy who was coming pretty cheaply in drafts. I mean, he was consistently available in the 5th, if not the 6th round. And he's a 3rd-year potential breakout receiver. I mean, he looks like a breakout receiver through 2 games. Like, he looks like a clear number 1 receiver. And he's kind of been that in his first 2 seasons, but I mean, I think he can take a step forward. He's definitely been doing it so far.
I mean, 11 targets on 29 Lamar Jackson attempts here shows that they're actively trying to get Zay Flowers the ball and ball a lot. And I think that makes sense, especially if you think Mark Andrews is in decline. Even with Isaiah likely out, Mark Andrews only 76% of the routes so far this season, 42 routes on 55 Lamar dropbacks through 2 weeks, but no production on 4 targets for Mark Andrews here. Are you worried at all that Mark Andrews is a little bit cooked here? And as I said, he had a touchdown in it, like he had it in his hands and he was going to secure it, and Grant Delpit kind of punched it out. So we wouldn't even be talking about this if he had secured that, but I'm still a little bit worried that without likely, Andrews isn't doing more. Any worry for you on Mark Andrews here?
You know, everyone was worried about Mark Andrews like through 5 weeks last year, and he wound up scoring with like 9 or 10 touchdowns. It's just going to come down to touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a super high volume tight end, and likely he's going to be back at some point too. I mean, it seems like sooner rather than later.
Oh, they didn't put him on IR because I think they thought he'd be back before week 4. So we'll see on Isaiah Likely. Let's go to the Buffalo Bills. Bills jump out to a 20-3 lead at halftime over the Jets. Josh Allen ends up attempting just 25 passes. James Cook goes nuts. He's fantasy's RB1 so far this year. Just an easy win. Never threatened. Everything was chill. Evan, what do you think of Bills' easy victory over the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is owed to the Jets just laying a complete egg. You know, I was on the over in this game, and it never really even got close. So my bad. I'm sorry to the people. I bet it too if it makes you feel any better, so we can lose money in solidarity to the fine people at DraftKings.com. Yeah, I mean, this is another game where it's just like certain things happen in that game, in this specific game. And it really, really helped James Cook. And Josh Allen didn't have to do much because the Jets put up 3 points for the vast majority of the game. Tyrod came in and threw a garbage time touchdown after Justin Fields got concussed. But it's going to happen sometimes. The Bills, by the way, are showing up number 1 in a lot of power rankings right now.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt, Bills are one of the best teams in the entire league. One thing that I did want to note about the Bills wide receiver stuff, after week 1, everybody was like, oh, Keon Coleman is the next superstar in the NFL. Keon Coleman. His routes were limited in this game. They played a ton of guys. 10 different Bills saw a target from Josh Allen. I agree Keon Coleman has the best juice. I agree Keon Coleman's the best player of the group. Yeah, maybe he saw a bunch of Sauce Gardner here or Ahmad Gardner, depending on how good you think he is. But yeah, I think it's going to be, it's harder for me to see it like Keon Coleman establishing alpha. I think the more likely outcome is these flat targets.
Well, the big thing is that they went back to what Joe Brady likes to do. Joe Brady likes to play, and this is why James Cook was good in fantasy because he scored 1 million touchdowns. But there was really nobody else on the team that was good in fantasy besides Josh Allen and James Cook because they play 3 running backs, because they played 2 tight ends, and because they were playing like 5 wide receivers. Now, in week 1, they streamlined it, and they really only played 3 receivers, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, and Khalil Shakir. But then in this game, they went back. They used a bunch of Elijah Moore.
Yeah, Shavers.
Shavers played a bunch. Dalton Kincaid had, a nice first game. I mean, actually, all things considered, 4 for 37 on 6 targets in a game where Josh Allen attempts 25 passes. That's actually not bad for Dalton Kincaid. But there are just all these committees at the skill position players, and that really hurts them in fantasy.
Let's go to the Cleveland Browns. Browns end up getting smoked here by the Ravens. It was much closer than the final score suggested, but still 41-17 final in Baltimore. I just couldn't believe the Quinshon Judkins stuff. I mean, dude just signed his Browns contract 8 days earlier. He had barely practiced with the team ever. Makes his debut here against the Ravens, plays 19 of 73 snaps, but on those 19 snaps, 10 carries for 61 yards. Now, one of those, the big carry was in garbage time, and then 3 catches for 10 yards. This is going to have a big effect on Dylan Sampson, and obviously I think Judkins is going to move ahead of Jerome Ford sooner rather than later. Evan, what do you think of Judkins' NFL debut and any other Browns thoughts?
He looked really good on his opportunities, but this is a 3-man backfield on one of the lowest scoring teams in the NFL. The Browns put up, 16 points in week 1, 17 points here. I know it was garbage time, but Dylan Gabriel did get in this game and threw a touchdown pass and went 3 for 3. And sooner rather than later, like, Dylan Gabriel is going to be making starts for the Browns. So I would, like, if I had Quinshon Judkins in a season-long league, I'd be trying to trade him.
Okay. Yeah.
This is not a good fantasy situation at all. And I know that he looked good. That's not enough.
Well, one thing you get with Joe Flacco is dropping back 40-something times a game. We talked about this. You know, I think we bet over Flacco pass attempts back-to-back weeks in props, and, like, you get a ton of dropbacks and you get a ton of checkdowns. You know, Dylan Sampson only played 18 snaps. He salvaged the day with a touchdown. Quinshon Judkins, who I don't consider to be a pass catcher, he only played 19 snaps. He had 3 catches. I don't know you're going to get that with Dylan Gabriel, to Evan's point. So
Jerome Ford even had 5 catches.
Jerome Ford, you know, and so Flacco is just like an elevator.
The wind is going to go out of this Brown stuff, like, as soon as Dylan Gabriel gets in the game.
What about the Harold Fannin stuff, Evan? Flacco threw to 9 different guys here. Fannin, again, ran fewer routes than David Njoku. But again, Harold Fannin, a better fantasy day than David Njoku here. Any thoughts on the Fannin outlook now that we have 2 games of data on Harold Fannin?
Again, when Joe Flacco goes away, it's not going to be good for these guys. What you want for Harold Fannin, you want David Njoku to get traded.
Yep.
And then that would free up. I mean, Harold Fannin could essentially become a full-time player. He was at, I believe, 63% of the snaps. Yeah, yep. 63% of the snaps in week 2. It's all this pass volume that is really lifting these guys, and that's probably going to go away when Dylan Gabriel becomes under center.
Yep. Yeah, I do think Fannin is, like, going to be a good and efficient player in the NFL. So, and he's showing it. You know, he's only playing 60% of snaps, and he's still being really, really productive. But obviously, the Gabriel stuff is a concern. Let's go to the Denver Broncos. So, week 1, I did not think the Broncos played a good game. They managed to escape against the Titans. In week 2, they go to Indy and they lose to Daniel Jones. The defense gives up 29 points to Daniel Jones. The big fantasy story, I thought, from the Broncos game was Troy Franklin breakout, 889-1 on 9 targets. Troy Franklin also led the team in routes. On 31 Bo Nix dropbacks, Troy Franklin ran 28, Courtland Sutton 24, Marvin Mims 13, Trent Sherfield 9, and Pat Bryant 8. Now, we've seen this before, Evan, where one receiver pops up, has a big game, everybody loves him, and then next week, Sean Payton turns him into a rotational player again. How sticky or viable do you think Troy Franklin will be going forward for the Broncos?
If he keep this role, I mean, I think that he's going to be very useful. He's got the shower narrative with Bo Nix. Bo Nix, by the way, I mentioned on the NFC podcast that Baker Mayfield is the second lowest graded quarterback at PFF. Bo Nix is the lowest quarterback graded at PFF through 2 games. But, I mean, he was still pretty efficient in this game, you know, from a box score standpoint. That's what we're concerned about in fantasy. And so Troy Franklin had a really nice game. And, you know, I think that he's taken a little bit of a year 2 leap. What'd you say he was at 80% of the snaps?
Yeah, 28 out of 31. I mean, that's like, for pretty Sean Payton, that's every snap, yeah.
That's pretty much an every down number 2 receiver.
Yeah, I don't want to go nuts here and assume this is going to continue, but I think it's worth finding out. And so you guys can watch Daigle's waiver show, read the waiver column, waiver Q&A. I know a lot of people have Troy Franklin waiver question. That's all for Draft Kit or in-season subscribers, but I would be somewhat aggressive on Troy Franklin just for the same reasons I said on Marvin Mims. If it turns out to be sticky, you have a big, big hit on your hands. So even if you think it's only 50% to be sticky, I think it's still worth being aggressive on Troy Franklin there on the waiver wire.
Evan Ingram should not be on season-long rosters.
Yes.
And RJ Harvey.
Yeah.
I mean, J.K. Dobbins is the main back in Denver.
So my thing is the Tyler Bidet stuff. I mean, J.K. Dobbins 27.
Wait, is that the right pronunciation?
Bidet? Yeah, actually, we found out. Yes, and he changed it. It was Batty in college, and then in the NFL, he went to Bidet. Unlucky for him on both fronts. But regardless, in this game, in week 2, J.K. Dobbins 27 snaps, R.J. Harvey 19, Tyler Bidet 13. Do we really need 13 Tyler Bidet snaps, Sean Payton? And he said after week 1, he was like, yeah, I don't want to play 3 running backs. I only want to play 2. He's the one that's in control of who plays. It's like the craziest thing in the world. And so
have some accountability, Sean Payton.
he says he wants to play 2. And then the next 4 days later, he goes out and plays Tyler Bidet for 13 snaps. So until that goes away, it's a tough click for me on RJ Harvey. There's no doubt. I will say, though, I'm not like giving up on RJ Harvey by any stretch. He can still catch a bunch of passes. J.K. Dobbins is one of the running backs most likely to get hurt in the NFL. And I don't think Tyler Bidet actually I don't think Peyton wants Tyler Bidet to be sticky in the long term. So I still have some optimism on RJ Harvey.
Sean
Broncos
Payton has ran 3-man backfields before.
I know. Last note, Evan, on a positive note, shout out to our friends at Underdog NFL. They put out a tweet. It said, quarterback pressures this season. Nick Bonito leads with 15, which is more than the entire Panthers team, the entire Colts team, and the entire Bears team. So Nick Bonito leads the NFL in pressures. He's down to 22-1 now to be defensive player of the year. I continue to shill for no other reason Nick Bonito than I think he's a good player. No reason beyond that whatsoever. Let's go to Houston Texans last night. Lose that heartbreaker to the Bucs. Everything just seems hard for the Texans, man. Like, the offensive line play is obviously terrible. Stroud just barely missed Nico a few times. They get down to the 1 yard line and like they can't sneak, they can't tush push. They try to throw for it. Nick Chubb had that one big touchdown run, but I thought he looked really slow generally, like a shell of himself. And then you have Xavier Hutchinson and Justin Watson playing ahead of Jaden Higgins and Noel. Everything seems hard for the Texans, who have now scored 2 touchdowns through 2 weeks. Evan, what do you think of Texans' performance last night against the Bucs?
Yeah, I think that the offensive line is maybe even worse than it was last year. The talent is definitely worse. I mean, they got rid of Laramie Tunsil and Shaq Mason.
Yeah.
So, God, they ran freaking 46 plays in this game. That is just disgusting. Woody Marks did look pretty good on a reception, but he's not threatened for the top job yet. I don't know where we get hope for this offense at this point. Xavier Hutchinson is still playing ahead of Jaden Higgins. I have like very little hope for this offense outside of Nico Collins, and it's even been a little bit of a struggle for him as well.
I mean, Nico could have had a huge game last night. He had so many red zone targets. Also got tackled at like the 1 foot line. At the running back spot, Dameon Pierce was a healthy scratch here. So we did get to see Woody Marks for 13 snaps. Because Evan said, I thought he looked like he had some good juice. Unfortunately, Dare Ogunawable got 10 snaps. And so that full pass down role does not belong to Marks just yet. I'd love to see him in a feature back role. We'll see if that happens down the stretch sometime. Also on the injury front, Christian Kirk expected back for week 3, and they get to play the Jaguars. So like, I know it's been really hard for the Texans. This is a spot where maybe they can get going here against the Jaguars, get Christian Kirk back, get in a good spot.
Oh, man, I don't know. Another thing that's working against them is that their defense is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Like Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are incredible. Derek Stingley, I mean, they're loaded on defense, and that's not going to end. So it's just going to be a really low-scoring, fantasy-unfriendly team all year, the Texans.
For sure. Let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs fall to 0-2 as they lose to the Eagles in Arrowhead. We knew this was going to be tough, right? You're facing the Eagles. You have no Rashee Rice. You have no Xavier Worthy. You have the crust, as Evan would say, of Travis Kelce out there hurting teammates, giving the ball to their team. You're trying to have Marquise Brown in some kind of alpha role, which isn't going to work. So I was actually impressed that they hung in there, but throwing the ball, I mean, Mahomes only 187 passing yards here. Evan, what do you think of Chiefs' performance against the Eagles?
Hey, I don't know about you. The Chiefs are 0-2. By the way, we're not calling him Travis Kelce anymore. We're calling him Killer Trav because that's what he goes by on Instagram. Also, nice drop at the 1 yard line that got returned for like 60 yards by Andrew Makuba by Killer Trav.
Yeah. I sent just like a joke tweet. I didn't think anything of it, of, the meme or whatever of Taylor Swift yelling at Kelce. And I put something about hurting your teammate and whatever. The Swifties have found this tweet. This is my most viewed tweet of all time. And now I have in my mentions all day for the last 3 days, it's been Swifties arguing with Chiefs fans, arguing with like ball knowers about Kelsey. It's like, you guys got to get in there and look at the mentions.
Swifties are defending Kelsey.
They love Kelsey because she's married to, and they don't like that
I was married yet. Whoa.
Whatever. They didn't like that I was suggesting that Travis is cooked and is messing up the team. It's so good. Okay. Isaiah Pacheco is down to 3.1 yards per carry this season. And everybody made excuses for him last year that he was hurt. That's why he averaged 3.7 yards per carry. Now, it's been tough matchups. Chargers, Eagles, two good run defenses, I think. But any concern for you on Pacheco here, Evan, as we look ahead? They play the Giants and then the Ravens next.
I mean, he's just like an RB3/4 at best. And
yeah,
the Giants have been terrible in run defense so far, by the way. Like Dexter Lawrence is just a ghost. So maybe he'll get it going, but I mean, you can't like start him. He's just a guy on the bench. And it's the Chiefs running game has been keyed by Patrick Mahomes. Historically, Patrick Mahomes would not run very much, in the regular season, and then he'd turn it on in the playoffs. Well, he has turned it on. I mean, I think he's leading all quarterbacks in rushing through 2 games. I don't know if it's necessarily that sticky, but I mean, it's something that is in his bag. Yeah. And that's really been carrying his fantasy value to this point. And it's also something, because they've had so much attrition at the skill positions, maybe it's something that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are like, hey, let's do this more.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I feel like they're just desperate to generate anything. They cannot get anything going down the field and can't get anything going in the run game. The other problem for Pacheco is, as we talked about last week, losing third downs, losing short yardage stuff to Kareem Hunt is going to make it even harder. And yes, producer Ryan has confirmed that my Taylor Swift tweet has 2 million views when compared to very insightful fantasy football tweets, which you guys should be watching, get about 20K views. So yes, let's go to the Las Vegas Raiders. Big game for the Raiders. They got that good win in week 1. They're home Monday night, week 2, and they just faceplant. I mean, very first drive of the game, Geno Smith gets picked off, ends up with maybe the worst game I've ever seen Geno Smith play. 43 pass attempts, turns into 180 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. I did not see this coming from Geno Smith. Evan, what do you think happened last night to the Raiders?
I mean, Geno Smith is a super aggressive player, and that can make him volatile at times. I think for the most part, especially in Seattle and in week 1, I mean, he was awesome in week 1 against New England. He had 9 completions of 20+ yards in week 1. For the most part, he's avoided like massive meltdown games, but he wasn't able to here. I thought the Chargers did a really good job playing defense. They did lose Khalil Mack to an elbow injury. That's something that we'll be monitoring for the matchups column this week. But when you're a volatile when you play a volatile style, that can subject you to games like this.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. Well, the Ashton Genty stuff, Evan, people are in a full-blown panic now. The Raiders took this guy 6th overall. When you take someone 6th overall, we are going to assume, and people are going to say maybe this is bad, whatever. We're going to assume that he's not going to lose clear pass down stuff to Zamir White when you take a guy 6th overall. We're not going to assume that he's going to lose 2-minute work to Dylan Laube, who I think has done like Maddox podcast. I mean, we're not going to project that. If this is sticky with Genty losing this stuff, they have a bad offensive line. They're throwing flare passes to Dylan Laube and asking him to make guys miss in space. Call me crazy. Maybe that should be the guy that you took 6th overall in space trying to make guys miss. Call me crazy. Evan, what do you think about the Ashton Genty stuff right now? How worried are you about him?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's Dylan Laube. Like the E is silent.
Perfect.
But yeah, I mean, and they're incorporating Zamir White. And Ashton Genty, like the clips of him trying to pass block are just a complete nightmare. And so they're taking away like, 2-minute drill obvious, long down and distance stuff away from him. And that stuff can matter
A lot.
big time.
When you're trailing, when your offensive line stinks, you need that
Right.
stuff. I mean,
Yep.
you need that stuff. And so I'm not in panic on Genty. I think he's going to be fine. We'll get to Amari and Hampton in a second, too. I know people are panicked about him, too. I'm not panicked on Ashton Genty, but he's got to get that roll back. He has to get those passing roll
Yeah.
games
The
back.
offensive line has been way worse, I think, than people.
They're bad.
Offensive line experts thought that they could have a good run blocking offensive line this year. That has not been the case. I was kind of building, my level of confidence in Ashton Genty based on Chip Kelly's history in the running game and Pete Carroll just running, a stable operation. That hasn't necessarily been the case. So, and Brock Bowers is not. I mean, he's not playing as much as we thought. So I guess shout out to Nate Jenke for being right about that. I mean, he did have a huge game in week 1, obviously, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, just on Bowers, real quick, he did run 39 routes last night compared to 10 for Michael Mayer. So this is like the standard role now for Brock Bowers. He earned 8 targets for a 19% share. He was wearing like a huge brace on his knee, and he, even if he was 80% of himself or 90% of himself in terms of explosiveness, he needs that. And so, yeah, I think Brock Bowers is going to be fine. I'm not too worried about the usage stuff at all.
No.
Yeah, the Genty stuff, God.
Yeah, it's worrisome. And you go back to all the stuff that Leone did with Gretsch, especially before the season, like these first round picks, and we're going to get to Amari and Hampton.
Yeah.
These first round picks, historically, first round running backs,
yeah,
especially in recent years because you don't see as many of them. And when a team invests a first round pick in a running back, that's like a really, really big deal nowadays. These guys get fed.
Yeah.
And, Genty and Omari and Hampton, they're kind of like on the brink of losing that. I mean, they may have already lost it, and then they're going to have to regain it back, and that's a process.
Yeah, I see. I don't think that Genty's I think Genty's definitely going to be fine. We'll get to Hampton stuff in a second, but yeah, I think Genty is going to be fine on the workload front. I do worry about efficiency. When he's not playing Sarah Lawrence basket weaving college at 2 a.m. on Fox Sports 1, and and he's trying to block guys and he can't. So yeah, that's a concern. I do think they're going to try to get Ashton Genty in the right game flows, 20 plus touches per game. So I would not be panic selling low on Ashton Genty whatsoever. Let's go to the Chargers though, Evan. They went to Vegas on Monday night, went comfortably. Biggest question coming out of the game, as I just alluded to, was the Amari and Hampton disappointment. I'll say a couple of things going on. First, the Chargers have gone extremely throw heavy through 2 games. They lead the entire NFL in pass rate over expectation to the Chargers. That can be fine for Amari and Hampton, especially since he's the one that's getting most of the pass game work, not Najee Harris. Amari Hampton, though, is not earning targets at a high rate. He only has 4 through 2 weeks, despite running plenty of routes. The other thing going on with Hampton is the Najee Harris. He was limited to 12 snaps in week 1 off of the eye thing. In week 2, Najee played 20 out of 58 snaps, Hampton 36. Routes were Hampton 16, Najee 7. I would say that Amari and Hampton's usage is actually good, strong, not elite, but strong. The problem is he looks bad. He's failed at the goal line. He had 3 chances, didn't get in. He has not shown any explosiveness laterally whatsoever. And so he looks bad out there. And that's to me, a bigger issue than the usage. So Evan, where are you at on Amari and Hampton right now after 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm worried about him. I mean, because he's a guy who I took a lot in fantasy, best ball, every kind of fantasy. And, he was kind of one of my go-to picks at the 2-3 turn, the 3rd round. It's clear to me that the Chargers made a philosophical shift. We all know that Jim Harbaugh's history and Greg Roman's history, they want to focus on the run. It's clear to me that when they lost Rashawn Slater and they moved Joe Alt to left tackle and they inserted Trey Pipkins, by the way, Joe Alt gave up 0 pressures in week 1. Trey Pipkins, who's not a run blocking right tackle, he's a pass blocking. He gave up 0 pressures in week 2 against the Raiders. So they made a philosophical shift right then, I think, that they were going to become an offense that relies more heavily on Justin Herbert. They went out and they signed Keenan Allen. They got some promising stuff in the preseason from like Keandre Lambert-Smith, which helped them feel better about their depth. And they became a pass-heavy offense on the fly, and it's working because Justin Herbert is playing at an awesome level. He's also continued to look very, very athletic as a mover. The thing is that Omarion Hampton was considered a really good pass-blocking running back coming out of North Carolina, also a really good receiving running back coming out of North Carolina. He had 67 catches over his final 2 seasons there. He had 2 mammoth years at UNC as a rusher. So he should be. I mean, he should be involved in all this. And I'm surprised that he's been so ineffective. And he's flat out been ineffective.
Yeah, at least Omarion Hampton is on a good team who has good quarterback play, and as Evan alluded to, is getting good offensive line play. Omarion Hampton just needs to play better, and they are trusting him in passing downs. They're giving him goal. The high value touches are actually going to Omarion Hampton. So my point is that, like, from a usage standpoint, at least now, Omarion Hampton is actually in a better spot than Ashton Genty. He just needs to play better, period. So I know people want to like panic bench Omarion Hampton. We're still going to have a pretty strong projection.
He's got
on
Denver
him
next.
Yeah, well, maybe we won't have a strong projection on him at Denver. You can see that when projections come out on Wednesday if you have in-season product. But my point is that when you're getting the high-value touches, you're still going to project pretty well. Pass game, goal line, and I still think Hampton is getting that stuff for a good team.
I mean, he's a guy that I think that he's a good enough talent that in 3 weeks we could look back and be like, well, why were we so panicked about him? And he just got off to a slow start in his rookie season. He's a speed score freak. He's like 223 pounds, ran 4.46. He checked like almost every single box that you could possibly look for in a guy who was going to have a monster rookie year.
By the way, Quentin Johnston, another big play here, proving to be one of the better late round best ball picks is Quentin Johnston, 60-yard touchdown. Keenan Allen also got 7 targets. Ladd McConkey just 5. It's not ideal that Keenan and Quentin Johnston are earning so much for Ladd. However, with this pass rate, Ladd's going to have a huge year. Just a huge year if they sustain this pass rate, which I think they will in some semblance.
Yeah. Another thing is that so they have this huge pass rate and they are not throwing the ball to the running backs or the tight ends.
Right.
They're just going to these 3 receivers, and that's going to prop them up. Quentin Johnston is a fantasy starter.
Yeah. Let's go to the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins lost to the Patriots at home, but they showed signs of life. Tua Tagovailoa was much sharper, 26 of 32, goes over 300 yards. Tyreek Hill finally gets a 30-yard catch. He goes over 100 yards on just 7 targets, but they lose again. They fall to 0-2. Calls for Mike McDaniel's head are only going to grow louder. Evan, what did you think of Dolphins' performance against the Patriots?
Well, it's just disastrous what's happening to them up front because they already lost Austin Jackson, their starting right tackle, starting guard James Daniels, and Jonah Saviena, who the Dolphins traded up to draft 37th overall, is the worst graded offensive lineman at PFF. There's been one bright spot on the team, and that's been Devon Achane, and hopefully he can keep it up despite what seems like inevitable that everything's just going to collapse around him. Tyreek Hill, so he had gone like over a full calendar year without a 30-plus yard catch. It made national news. He's been asked about it in press conferences. And then he catches a 47-yarder this past week. But did you see that play?
Yeah, it was like I was playing 500 with my kid. Like I just throw it up to him and his friends and see who comes down with it.
Well, also Tua had to load up his entire body.
Yeah.
To make the throw, which really wasn't that far downfield. And then Tyreek had to come back to get it. So that was not really like, that was actually more concerning to me than anything else. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of optimism, even after the Dolphins put up, some points in this game. I don't really have a whole lot of optimism.
This is the spot for them to put up points, right? It's September. It's a home game in the heat in Florida. This is typically where they do put up a lot of points. Yeah. And so no Christian Gonzalez. Like, it was a really good spot for Miami. I played them in the DFS. I talked about that some on the solo pod as well. The thing about Devon Achane, man, I do not want Mike McDaniel to get fired because I have a bunch of Devon Achane and he's smashing and they're using him in this outrageous way. I'm worried if Mike McDaniel loses his job, it won't be as perfect for Achane. Achane through 2 weeks has played 91% of the snaps, run 85% of the routes, leads the team at a 26% target share, and he's also like one of the most explosive players in the entire league. So, I mean,
He's been
JT,
targeted 15 times, and he's caught all 15 of them.
like
He's going to
JT,
catch, let's say everything, let's just say it doesn't get any worse. Okay, it just flatlines from here. It just stays the same. He's going to catch like 120 balls.
it's insane. JT, Christian McCaffrey, and Achane having the best roles in the league and being some of the most explosive players in the league is like an unfair combo. Like those guys are just completely outrageous right now from both the usage and ability standpoint.
Another thing, the Dolphins defense is absolute garbage. It might be the Dolphins and the Bears competing for the worst defense in the league by the end of the season.
Agreed. Let's go to the New England Patriots. As we just said, they went to Miami, won this wild game. Drake May gets 3 touchdowns while posting 137 passer rating. Also, Drake May ran 10 times for 31 yards here and did get that 1 rushing touchdown, 2 passing. I think the story of the game from a fantasy standpoint was Travion Henderson, only 19 of 60 snaps, in part, I think, because he committed 3 holding penalties and also missed a pass pro assignment. His calling card coming out was that he was great in pass pro. So that was not
He was
great,
considered the best pass protection running back in college football last year.
And so you get Ramondre Stevenson out there for 39 snaps, and Ramondre Stevenson was one of the best players on the field. I'm not exaggerating. One of the best players on the field in a game that they won, which concerns me a bit for Travion Henderson. So, Evan, what do you think about the Patriots game and their running back stuff right now?
Yeah, and we complain about the Tyler Bidet. God, I can't believe we're saying that Tyler Bidet thing. With the third running back thing, and then
Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson. Like the same thing's happening in New England. Like that's cutting directly into Travion Henderson because those two guys are kind of on the same archetype.
Yeah,
so that hurts too.
Oh, for sure. And the other thing was they ran a wheel route, Evan, for Ramondre Stevenson, and he makes this like sick fingertip catch, breaks a couple tackles, and after the game, Vrabel says that was actually supposed to be for Travion, but he wasn't in the game. So he wasn't in the game, presumably because of the pass protection stuff and the holding stuff. So yeah, they're just not ideal on Travion. Still excited about him, but yeah, Ramondre is certainly not going away. Kayshon Boutte led all wide receivers in routes with 23, but only saw 1 target. Kayshon Boutte led the wide receivers in routes, but 23 of 31, not exactly an every route kind of player. Matt Collins, 18, Steph Diggs, 18, Pop Douglas, 11, Kyle Williams.
Yeah, they're using like a 5-man wide receiver weave, and they use 2 tight ends as well. And now they're using 3 running backs. So this is like kind of like our worst case scenario from a fantasy standpoint for them. But good to see Drake May play really, really well after a pretty rough opener. And also Will Campbell, I think the Patriots have a hit on him. I was just gunning on the Dolphins defense, but they do have 2 talented edge pass rushers in Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. Will Campbell in week 2 against those guys, 0 pressures allowed on 31 pass blocking snaps. Despite the short arms, I think they got the right guy.
Let's go to the New York Jets. I mean, this was a horrific day, a scary day for the Jets and Justin Fields. Just 1 week after absolutely shredding the Steelers, Fields looks inept against the Buffalo Bills. Completes just 3 of 11 passes before leaving with a concussion. Fields did run 5 times, 49 yards. He's questionable for week 3 at Tampa. If he can't go, it'll be Tyrod Taylor. But even if he can go, Evan, this kind of shook me. Like, I thought maybe Fields had found something as a passer. This shook me that it can be really bad. What do you think of Fields and the Jets against the Bills?
Yeah, real frustrating. I mean, I think you wound up scoring like 1 fantasy point or something like that, Justin Fields. Just a big step back. I guess we can't put Tanner Engstrand on Mount Rushmore after all. The Jets are who we thought that they were.
Yeah. Garrett Wilson saw a 36% target share here. Like, that is basically all I can hang my hat on a week-to-week basis. Obviously, Breece Hall as well. But, yeah. We'll see
Yeah.
on Fields.
It also didn't help that the Jets ran, there's another one of these teams that ran like 45 plays or something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, they got smoked, man. I mean, they couldn't get a first down against the Bills. Let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers barely won in week 1 against the Jets. And then in week 2, they have a home game against Seattle and they lose it 31-17. So a scary start for the Steelers and also a scary start for the defense. They face Justin Fields and Sam Darnold. They're 29th in yards per play allowed are the Steelers defense. So I'm curious if you think the Steelers defense is actually dust, Evan, or if you think this is just a little blip. And any other thoughts on this Steelers loss to the Seahawks?
I think it's 100% dust. And you can go back to last year. Over the last 10 games, the Steelers are allowing 28 points per game. TJ Watt doesn't have a sack in 6 straight games. They lost in this game. They lost Alex Highsmith, their number 2 pass rusher, their number 2 edge rusher, to a high ankle sprain. They're old and they're slow. They're old and slow. I mean, they just kind of all got old at the same time. Cam Hayward is old, and I think that I think their defense is legit bad.
Speaking of bad, the running back position was again kind of messy from Arthur Smith, although in this game, Jalen Warren led in snaps with 36, Kenny Gainwell 26, Caleb Johnson just 2, also had a special teams gaff. Now, Jalen Warren had a 65-yard reception, otherwise pretty inefficient, but at least good to see him get out ahead of Kenny Gainwell here. So that was good for Jalen Warren, but the Caleb Johnson stuff seems like, I don't want to say dead, but for the foreseeable future, pretty dead.
Well, and Tomlin came out and said that he's going to be pulled off kick returns. And so now he loses his special teams role. Is he going to be inactive? Caleb Johnson, is he going to be inactive on game days going forward? I mean, that's now within the range of potential outcomes. That Caleb Johnson, who a lot of people liked him.
Yeah.
He could be inactive in week 3. And from the passing game, we saw them play real well in week 1 against the Jets. And, that probably says more about the Jets in week 2. Like, this is the kind of passing game that I was expecting from the Steelers for the majority of the year. Although, hats do go off to Seattle. I mean, Seattle is playing real tough defensively.
Speaking of your boy, Aaron Rodgers did get DK Metcalf a touchdown in his revenge game against Seattle. So it was not a good game for Aaron Rodgers or DK Metcalf, but had to get the touchdown there when you're facing your old team for DK Metcalf. Last team here, Tennessee Titans. Titans fall to 0-2 with this home loss to the Rams. Cam Ward, only 57% completion rate, takes 5 sacks. He did have this insane touchdown pass to Elik Iominor. Just absurd. You guys need to find the highlight of that. But it looked like something Patrick Mahomes would do. But beyond that, it was not great for the Titans. Now, I will say, in Cam Ward's defense, Evan, they've played the Rams, right? And they've played the Broncos. So 2 really tough spots to start your career for Cam Ward. But yeah, what do you think of Titans' latest loss?
Yeah, I'm not sure that you could have drawn it up any tougher. Denver, their front 4, and then the Rams front 4 in week 2, especially for a team that lost J.C. Latham and, is breaking in a new left tackle. Like, Cam Ward has already taken 11 sacks through 2 games. So he's getting beat up. It's been really disappointing. And I know Dink pointed out that Cam Ward didn't throw to running backs very much in college, and maybe that's a concern for Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard did have 20 for 92 on the ground against the Rams. That's above expectation, I would say. But he had 0 catches. And we need him to catch passes. Tony Pollard is a pass catcher. We need him to catch passes.
Speaking of Iominor, just to wrap up on that, Iominor did out-route Tyler Lockett 28-19. Calvin Ridley led all wide receivers with 37 routes here. Next up for the Titans is the Colts. So it gets a little bit easier maybe, but then at Texans, which is going to be very, very tough. So man, this opening NFL schedule for Cam Ward is just absolutely brutal. All right. That is going to do it for another edition of the Establish the Run Team by Team recap show. For anyone looking for more shows with myself and Silva, you can find those Friday night and Sunday morning as part of the in-season products. Same with Dink and Leone Saturday morning on ETM and Leone's lineup building show on Saturday night. For any draft kit bros out there, Rest season top 150 trade calculator will be updated by Wednesday morning. For producer Ryan, producer Luke, for everyone behind the scenes at ETR, and for Evan, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.